Hello and welcome to this new video. Today we're going to discuss the rock walkthrough, and we're going to focus today on the aggressive gameplay. So in the beach walkthrough I did a very eco-heavy build and showed you how to fight Tech 3 Navy. Now I want to show you how to fight with Tech 2 Navy and how to do a Tech 2 push. So you start off with the normal build order. It's basically the same every game. You never change that. You just have to learn it at some point, and then you don't forget it and do it every time. So the first Engie goes here, reclaim all the trees in this triangle. Don't reclaim too many trees, don't reclaim these trees around it, just the trees in this triangle. And the second Engie follows. The third Engie going for the left expansion, reclaiming all the trees around it. I forgot here actually a Mex, but yeah, it's not too bad. It shouldn't happen of course, but it's fixable. And this scout goes already through mid to secure no labs coming through. You can also use it to scout the beach player to see if he's going for a transport snipe or something. But yeah, so you basically have to prioritize. Either you want to secure the mid from labs coming to the air player, or you want to secure your transport. But usually it's easier to rescue your transport than killing labs here. Now in this queue I went for 2 Engies and not 3 Engies, because this Engie is finished when the transport is finished. So you can also queue up here 3 Engies, but then you're later on the transport. But yeah. And you see already, I have already 2 scouts out before minute 3. So I really want to focus early what's happening on the map. I want to scout all the opponents to see what are they doing. Is there any weird stuff they're going for? So scouting is the most important thing you can do. Like, I see so many people having at minute 10 not scouted anything. Like, this can't work. You can't play so generic and still be effective. Then I go here on the island, and you see I build every single Mex before I build the land factory, because I scouted and I didn't see any aggressive plays. Like, I didn't see any bombers, any transport snipes or stuff like that. So I can assume that he won't do anything like that to me, and there's no point to build the factory. I want to have the eco. I want to have the trees and the Mexes, and after I've built all these Mexes, then I secure this position with building a land factory. Then after the transport I build a few pigeons and I go for Mexes after that. You don't want to build too many pigeons, because then you just overflow all the mass, all the power, and you don't spend your mass as sufficient. So I just go for a few pigeons. I don't have a real number of that. Then I go for Mexes and then for more pigeons. And now, I mean, he isn't reclaiming really well. That's the reason why I go for a second reclaim factory, to be able to reclaim also his trees. Usually that shouldn't be the case, but in this case I just assumed that he doesn't know what to do, and it's better if I have the trees compared to nobody having these trees. So yeah, that's the reason why I just built this second factory. Usually you don't need that. And I'm also overflowing heavily. I really need to spend my mass. I mean, I was a bit rusty playing that, so I didn't play it perfectly. But you see, I have everywhere my scouts. Like, scouting is so important. Everywhere I have scouts flying around and scouting the actual, the momentarily situation in the enemy base. I scout everything. I scout max count, unit count. That's really important, because otherwise you don't know what your enemy is doing, so how do you want to counter it? And also, you see, I don't go for any Navy factories yet. I just go for Eco, because I scout him regularly and I see he doesn't have a Navy factory, so why should I go for Navy factory? Especially if you do, like, there are multiple ways of playing aggressive. You can also play aggressive with early drops and multiple bombers and heavy frigate harassment. You can do that, yes, but the enemy knows that you play aggressive then, and he will he will also prepare for your aggressive gameplay. But if I play like that, he doesn't know, oh, does he switch to aggressive gameplay, or does he still continue to play the aggressive, the eco gameplay? So that's the reason why I like more to go for this aggressive pathway, to just go for an eco heavy gameplay, and once I have more eco, I put everything into Navy and win Navy then. Now I switch to a lot of Tech 1 factories. These frigates have multiple purposes. First of all, they are just annoying. They are just stealing APM of my opponent, because if a lot of frigates are constantly trying to raid his factories, he has constantly be aware of them, of their positioning, and readjust his frigate positioning, and this drains APM. And when he's draining APM on my frigates, he can't really focus on his eco too much, and it causes overflow, it causes stalling, it causes wrong Engie positioning. So that's really helpful, to just be annoying. Even though you don't do any physical damage, you do the damage by just draining his APM. And the second purpose of these frigates is killing build power around his early factories. So in a Tech 2 push, you want to have more units than your opponent, so you can win your Navy. That's pretty self-explanatory. And there are 3 ways you can achieve that. One way is killing Mexes. If all his Mexes are dead, he can't produce any Navy. If he has less Mexes, he can't put as much mass into Navy as you can, which causes you to have more Destros, to have more units, and to win the Navy. The second way is to kill all his build power, because he can have all the mass in the world, but if he doesn't have any way to spend it on Navy, you will also have more Navy units. And the third way is you use your units more effectively than your enemy does, because if I micro my Destros better, have better Destro positioning, etc., I can actually get a unit advantage, even though we have at the start the same unit count, just by using my units better. So these 3 ways, killing Mexes, killing build power, using your units more efficiently, these are the 3 ways you really have to focus while Tech 2 pushing. And for attacking at all these different angles or different ways, I built already bombers here to kill the build power around the Navy factories. I have early frigates to kill the build power around these early factories. So I have already multiple ways of dealing at least with one way, with killing the build power around the factory. And then these Engies just build a factory here, so I can get the reclaim early enough. And then these bombers are also a distraction, because if I you see I want to drop them again. So, and if I do that both at different times, he can react one time to the bombers and one time to the transport. The probability that it works is lower as if I do that both simultaneously. So you see he's moving all his inties to my bombers, and now I can drop my Engies without any problems in his 3 max expansion. While that, these Engies are just going to kill the Engies. Sadly they were already dead. And then I go also for TML-ACU. Because with the TML-ACU I can kill even more Mexes. So as I said, you want to kill build power, I'm doing that with frigates or with bombers. Then you want to kill Mexes, I do that with this transport, with this Engie-Drop. And I do that with the TML-ACU. So I'm really focusing on these 2 ways at the moment. And in the future, when I get multiple Destros out, I will also focus on the 3rd way. So now I'm dropping these Engies and immediately queue up PD, and I'm already stalling heavily actually. So I pause all my Engies so I can afford this PD, because at the time it's just about the timing. You don't want to lose too much timing building the PD because you stall power or mass. You really want to be fast because now he could just reclaim all my Engies and the attack would be gone. So you want to be fast, and that's the reason why I pause everything, just to keep my Engies building as fast as possible. And then I even capture the Mex, because capturing just costs the power, and then I have a Tech 2 Mex. So I have basically a Tech 2 Mex for investing 0 mass, and that's always a good thing. Then I go also for the Tech 2 upgrade on my ACU, because if you go for a TML-ACU, you always want to go for a Tech 2 ACU too, because otherwise it will take so long time to get actually a missile loaded, and that's never worth it. If you go for TML, you also need a Tech 2 upgrade. And now you see he actually managed to have enough units to defend these early frigates. So I just get my territory claimed here with building factories for reclaiming and waiting for my Destros. Because you see already the damage I've done. I've killed these Mexes, and I killed a lot of his build power. And I just want to sit back now and wait for my TML-ACU to do even more damage, because then even more of his equal damage, and the probability that I have more navy is even higher. As I said, you want to focus on these 3 ways, and yeah, killing build power is now basically not really possible anymore, because he has already all these inties, all the inters from the frigates. So at this point it's basically over. You can do that probably with the cruiser, but otherwise you can't. So now I'm focusing really on just on killing eco, and that's why I have the TML-ACU here. And my first priority is the PGen, and then I go for these Mexes. This is basically a mistake. I should go for these Mexes because he has all his build power in this area, which means that this area will be the fastest area which has a TMD. So the time span where I can actually TML anything in this area is the lowest. Like if I go for these Mexes, then I can still go for these Mexes because he has no build power here to build a TMD. But if I go for these Mexes, I give him time to actually react and build TMDs here. So my Q should have been killing the PGen and then these Mexes. And then after that I can kill these Mexes. And while I'm with my ACU underwater, I really want to avoid stalling. Because you want to be, like, you have only a limited time frame where you can abuse the TML-ACU. Because he will build TMD and so you don't have too much time. That's why you don't want to be even slower or loading your missiles, and you want really to avoid stalling. And you also see I don't make any max upgrades. I don't make any mass storages or stuff like that. I just go for Navy gameplay now, because I killed his eco to a large degree. There's no way he can actually win versus me. But if I go now for Mexes and I start upgrading my Mexes, the probability is quite there that he can just go full in Navy, and while I put my eco into Mexes, he put his eco into Navy, and then I get overrun here. So if you go for a Tech 2 push, you stop at some point making eco and you go full in for a push. And you just try to make your units as much worth as possible. You also see I TML'd his HQ down here. As I said, either killing eco or killing build power. This is your main focus on these early stages, because there is no real Navy fight. I mean, these destroyers are not really fighting, and the only thing I'm really focusing on is killing Mexes and killing build power. So it's not really about, on the Navy push, it's not really only about the Navy and how to use the Navy. That's one point of it. That's one way of 3 ways to actually allow you or get yourself in a position where you have the unit advantage. And now you see I killed so much of his eco. I killed his eco. I killed even his access basically to my pond. So now there's no way they can actually keep up with my production, because he's on 50 mass income, he's on 67 mass income, so they are on 170 mass income and I'm on 110. So we're basically on the same eco, but I have concentrated build power. I get also the reclaim from these factories, and I have more build power in the pond. So I have more, or basically the same amount of eco, even though I'm fighting 2 bases, and this base, let's be real, this isn't really fighting. So it's more like I have double the eco compared to him. I have more build power, and yeah, so I'm on early Tech 2 stage where my destroyers are better than his destroyers. So I can make abuse of all of these 3 ways of killing Mexes, of killing build power, and using my units more efficient. And now this is just a formality. Like, I have such a big frigate advantage that I just move them in and have them on Engie target priority to kill all his build power. So you see how you actually do a navy push. It's not only about the navy, it's far more about killing Mexes and killing build power. Because if he doesn't have Mexes, he can produce navy. If he doesn't have build power, he can produce navy. And that's really what you want to focus on. Because then you don't even have to use your unit efficiently, because you have such a big unit advantage that it's basically irrelevant how you micro your units. And yeah, that's basically how you do a Tech 2 push. And also the TML-ACU is really helpful at exploiting the tactical advantage you got there. Because you win your pond to get the tactical advantage. And now I can have my TML-ACU walk to the air player base and just TML his Mexes. So you're really fast at abusing this tactical advantage. And now, after I won my pond, I can actually start making mass storages. Now I can do that, but not before I have won the pond and got the recall. So now probably to the question why I do the Tech 2 push in the first place. Because my air player, like you see, he hasn't a single Tech 3 max at minute 19. So he will surely lose in the later stages of the air game. And my beach won't win either. So I have to win. And my air player isn't going to be helpful in the late air stages. This means that I have to abuse the early stages. Because if I don't, and I just go for the eco gameplay, I have to fight the mid player, I have to fight the beach player, and I have to fight the air player. And that's very hard to do. Even though they are low rated, it's really hard to do. To fight 3 players just because they have such a big eco advantage. So that's why I want to go for the Tech 2 push, to close it down early so that he can't really join the pond. He isn't really effective or can't do anything because at the moment my air player has more ASF because he did no eco at all. So you have to know your players more or less, even though I rarely play these low-rated lobbies. In this case, I knew what he's doing. So you have to know your players, you have to know their play style, and then you have to consider based on that what you're doing. Because now I could exploit his early air advantage the best as possible, while not running into the danger to have to fight air in the later stages. And now our team is basically like, this isn't rescuable because he doesn't have air control and gets farmed all the time. I can abuse the one pond with going for land invasion, and he won't lose the pond really fast because they are, well, more or less on the same eco. He's like 20 mass ahead. Probably the same unit count. And the mid player can join Navy too. So the bottom pond won't be won. Top pond is already lost. And the air player kills all his ASF all the time. So there's basically no way they can rescue it at this point. And that's really strong about this Navy push and about a TML-ACU and bombers, and that's basically how you do it. You keep the build power low, you keep the mass power low, you keep the mass income of your enemy low, and you see like my ACU got 13,000 mass killed, and it cost like 2,500 to go for it. So I got a huge advantage from that. yeah, that's basically how you play aggressive Navy. You have to focus on this 3 ways: killing build power, killing Mexes, and using your units more efficiently. And then it's really hard to not win Navy, as long as you have the Navy, as long as you have the more mass income when you joined the Navy, right? So you start early on with the normal rock gameplay, or normal eco gameplay, and you go for very greedy, very eco heavy build, and then you put in everything into Navy and you stop ecoing. You see, I'm not even fully capped at the moment, and it's minute 20, so I just focused on Navy. Yeah, so I hope you guys could learn from it. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and see you next time.